Hello everyone, welcome back again. So in our last class we have learned basic introduction to CSS. So in this class we will learn the different types of cascading style sheet or CSS. All right. So these CSS, they are basically three different types of CSS. So all these three different CSS, the properties, the declaration is same, but how they are written or the way of writing or linking is different. All right. So we have inline CSS, internal or embedded CSS, and then external CSS. All right. So in most of our classes we will be doing it with internal CSS. All right, to avoid confusion and then to avoid our time, we will try to show the demonstration using internal or embedded CSS. In our previous class in introduction to CSS, the examples what I have shown, it was based on internal CSS. All right. So we have inline CSS, internal CSS, and then external CSS. Now let us learn one by one. So the first one we have is inline CSS. So inline CSS, it may be used to apply a unique style for a single element. That means single element means suppose like you can design an HTML for only for heading one, or suppose like if you have four different heading ones, if you use inline CSS, only the heading one where you apply to CSS will be affected. All right, I'm repeating again. Suppose if you have four different heading one elements, after that if you want only the first heading one to change the font color, you can apply the CSS to the first heading one, and then the remaining three heading one will not be affected by the CSS. So that's how inline CSS works. All right, it will be applicable only for that particular selected tag or elements. All right, so to use inline styles, add a style attribute to the relevant element. Right, so to which element or to which HTML tag you want to change the or apply the CSS properties, you have to apply there followed by adding style attribute. All right, so the style attribute can contain any CSS properties. So after that style, all of those are internal CSS, external CSS, inline CSS. The way of writing is same. All right, the way of declaring those are different properties, and then the different value is same. So this kind of style is specified within an HTML tag using a style attribute. That means to which HTML elements you have applied that style tag, style attributes, it will be affected only that elements. All right, so let's look into in an inline CSS. So inline CSS may look something like this. So this is our, in our example, this is our HTML page, and then this is our output screen. All right, this is how it will be visible inside our browser. So out here we have heading one. After that, since we are writing inline CSS, style is equal to, after that inside this double quotation we have color blue. That means this is the properties, and then this is the value. After that, text align property and then value, which is separated by semicolon, like how we have learned in our previous classes. So this heading one will have a style of color blue, text align center. So the output will be like this. Again, we have a paragraph tag, we have style color red, so it will be and color it. So this is inline CSS means when you with along with the style attribute, when you apply different properties, CSS properties here, this is called an inline CSS, and then this is how we can write your inline CSS. So sometimes if you do not want to apply it inside an internal CSS to external CSS, you can use some of these inline CSS this way. All right, after that, second thing we have is internal or embedded CSS. So uh, an internal style sheet may be used if one single HTML pages has a unique style, and then the internal style is defined inside style elements inside the head section. So if you want to use an internal CSS or embedded CSS, you have to write your CSS inside that particular HTML page to which you want to change. That means, suppose you have a website and then you have four different pages. In that four different pages, if you want to have a different styling, you can use internal CSS for all of these four different pages. All right, so whenever you use or you write internal CSS, it have to be declared inside a heading tag with a between heading tag using this style tag. All right, so this internal CSS is what we have learned in our last class. All right, so remember that these internal CSS, they are used when you want to have a unique style for a particular page, only for a single page. All right, so this is an example of how to use internal CSS. All right, so this style, it is declared inside heading tag. All right, so inside this heading tag we have a style tag. Inside this style tag we have design for the selector or the element body and then h1. So like we have a body and then we have a heading and then we have a paragraph. We did not design paragraph, so if you wish you can design it, but out here the body, it will have a background color linen, heading 1 will have a color maroon, and then it will be margin left is 40 pixel. Heading 1 margin means how far it will move away from this border. All right, this is 40 pixel. So we will learn more all of these things, margins. So this is how internal CSS is written. All right, inside the same HTML page you have a block for writing your style inside the heading tag. After that, using different selector, you can give different properties to design it. So this is how the output will look like for this page. All right, we have a one heading, one paragraph, and then we have a body, and then using CSS we have designed this body and then heading 1. So body will have this one and then heading 1 will have this one. All right, so the last one we have an external CSS. So an external CSS contains a separate CSS file. That means whenever you use an external CSS will be written differently, and then the HTML pages will be written differently, and then which contains only style properties with the help of an attribute tag, for example class, ID, headings, etc. All right, so using different selectors like class, ID, or different headings, paragraph, you can design your CSS in a separate file, and then this CSS probably written in a separate file is saved as .css extension. All right, so CSS, whenever you use an external CSS, that CSS file should be saved as .css extension. All right, and then and should be linked to the HTML document. So this is very important. All right, whenever you use an external CSS, HTML pages is written differently, and then CSS is also written in a separate file. And then after writing your CSS, whenever you want to use that CSS, you have to link that one inside your HTML page. All right, so this means that for each element, style can be set only once, and that will apply across your web page. So like I have said, suppose if you have a website and then you have four different pages, and then if you want to have a same font color for heading 1 in all of these four different pages, you can use external CSS. So you can define only once in CSS h1 color red. So if you define like that, all of heading ones in all of your four different HTML pages will have a red color font. However, it should be link. All right, your HTML page and then your CSS should be linked, which we will be learning now. So suppose, let's see an example for an external CSS. External CSS is defined by the link element inside the heading section. So let's say you have an HTML page. Out here we do not have any CSS. All right, we have a body, we have a heading 1, and then we have a paragraph. And then to link your CSS, it should be linked inside your heading tag this way. Okay, link rel is equal to style sheet type CSS and then hypertext hypertext reference. After that you have to give your CSS file name, CSS batch name. All right, so out here the required real attributes, this real attributes, this is specific, the attributes specify the relationship between the current document and the linked document. So this one, this real or a relation, this and short and long form, this is relation. All right, so it will specify the current documents and then the linked documents. All right, so after that we have to write a separate CSS file. Inside your CSS file you do not have to write those style tag, alright, you can just start writing your CSS file directly. So out here, same as our previous class, we have a background, body background as a blue, light blue. We have heading 1, color navy, margin left 20 pixel. So if we do it like that, and then we have saved this one as, say, my style.css. So whenever you want to use this css inside your HTML page, it have to link it this way inside your heading tag, link real style sheet type css, my style sheet css. But suppose like if your style and then your HTML pages is in separate folder, you have to keep the full directory name. All right, so for this external CSS, let's take into an example using our previous folder. So while learning HTML, we have saved all of our HTML inside HTML5 folder, right? After that, inside the HTML folder you have all your HTML pages, right? So right now let's try to create a new folder to write our CSS. Let's give a folder name as CSS. All right, so we have a folder name CSS. So, and most of the cases in real life project you will have like this. All right, and most of the pages to use external CSS mostly. All right, so let's create a folder for CSS inside our HTML file. After that we will save our HTML file here. After that we will save our CSS here, and then let us try to link it. All right, so now let's open Notepad. Okay, so let me write it in short. All right, so we have a head. After that let's close our head. We have a body. After that let's say we have a heading 1. This is batch 1. Okay, so we have a symbol HTML with a heading 1. All right, after that let's save this one. So save as. After that I will save it inside my folder HTML. Where's my, okay, HTML5. Let's say page1.html. all right, so for example let's name this one as page1.html. okay, so let's copy this one, same thing. Let's open a new notepad. After that let's say page 2. all right, so save as. After that let's save as for page2.html. all right, so we have two different HTML pages, page 1 and then page 2. after that in page 1 we have written this is page 1, we have page 2. all right, so let's view it inside our browser. So this is page 1. Let's minimize it. Let's run page 2. So we have, this is page 2, this is page 1. So we have two different HTML pages, and then right now we do not have any CSS, right? So let us try to create one external CSS. all right, so CSS, it can be written in any text editor. all right, so you can simply use your notepad. all right, so while writing CSS, let's try to design. Let's start from here. All right, so let's try to design our body. All right, so let's say we can just start it like this. Okay, body. After that, let's say background color is, let's say, yellow. All right, semicolon. After that, we have to close the curly bracket. That means we have a body and then the body background is yellow. All right, after that, let's style this heading 1. So after this, again, let's say heading 1 curly bracket. Let's say we want it to have a color. What shall we give? Let's give red. After that, let's say align it to center. Right, so how much you want to give it, you can give different properties. Okay, which we will be learning in our next classes. So let's save this CSS file, save as, and then after that, inside my HTML5 folder, I will save it inside my CSS folder. All right, after that, let's give style.css. all right, you can give any file name, but make sure that it have a file extension .css. So I am saving this one as style.css. all right, so let's say we have already created our CSS for page 1 and then the page 2, but right now we do not link our CSS and then our HTML pages, so it will not display anything. All right, so let's go back to our notepad. Okay, so to link your this one to HTML, let's go here inside our body. We have to write link relation is equal to, after that we have to write style style sheet, right, double quotation, type is equal to text css, after that href. After that, after this hypertext reference, similar to how we write our hyperlinks, we have to give our folder name slash file name. Right, this is the folder name where I keep my CSS, and then this is the name of my style sheet. Now let's save this one. After that, let's check our browser. So it have a yellow background. Now if we look on the heading 2 again, it will not be affected because we do not link that CSS with our head 2. So if you want to link the same CSS, you just have to write the same link like this. That means link rel style sheet type css href folder name, after that the file name. But example, if your CSS page and then your HTML page is in the same folder, you do not have to give the folder name. All right, we have to write like this. Now, like suppose right now we have yellow. Now if you want to change the background color, all right, the advantage of using CSS is that you just have to change it only once here, background color aqua. All right, so if we give it aqua, this both page 1 and then page 2 will have the same background color. So that is the advantage of using an external CSS. Once you have changes to one location, it will get affected in all of your pages where you have linked your CSS. So I hope you are clear on how to use this external CSS. Right, so if you have any problem, please ask, and in the medium, it can be WhatsApp or in our forum. All right, so those are the different types of CSS we can use while designing our web pages. All right, so thank you so much, and then see you in the next class.